We were talking about what's wrong with LA politics and the LA mayor's race, and what's wrong with our very special guest today, Jonathan Groff, who so glad could join me here to bring some wisdom to us as Los Angeles faces decision time when
Yes.
we're going to the polls today. Jonathan Groff is a great stalwart icon with
Stalwart.
stalwart of comedy writing. He has worked on a, a myriad of series that you know and love, including Blackish, Mixist, Happy Endings. Ed, the he's currently speaking to us from New York, where you're working on a show, I believe.
I,
Can you
um,
reveal?
I'm working in development with a very funny writer named Bess Kalb. We're working on an idea. It's really her idea, and I'm just helping her develop it. But I'm mostly just here doing some personal stuff and working on Zoom, working on a rewrite of a DreamWorks animated movie, and yeah, and this develop various projects in development. Mostly working remotely this week.
Did you vote by mail or
Voted.
cast your vote for you?
I voted in person on Friday at the Masonic Hall in Los Feliz, and there were, 19 campaign workers and 3 voters at the time I went,
that
but that's okay.
that was my experience yesterday in Westwood at the Hammer Museum. But they were very helpful. It was
Yep.
I had to set my coffee to the side. I couldn't bring it into the voting booth, and I think there were like 5 people involved in making sure that coffee got back to me. So
Okay.
mission accomplished there at the Hammer Museum. And he comes to us also in the guise of prominent supporter of Councilwoman Nithya Raman, who is one of the 3 main contenders in this race today. And I wanted to hear about your involvement in city politics and how you came to be involved in Councilwoman Raman's campaign and what your thoughts are on all
Well,
that. So to tell us your journey in all this.
my journey with Nithya was finding out about her. So full disclosure, I know her husband, Vali, who
Mhm.
is a comedy writer. Let's talk about Stalwart, hilarious writer. So I got to know her a little bit through him, and then was delighted to have her run as our CD4 council person a number of years ago, and supported her and had signs and all of that and talked her up, because to me, I really love her. She's really smart and really tireless, which is a great combination, and really has ideas and and thought behind what she wants to do, and has this planning and a background in urban planning. And I responded to all of that, and to the sort of work that she had done with SELA, which is the homeless organization, or to help unhoused people in LA, which focused on our area on the east side of Los Angeles, and had really done grassroots work that was really, we could see results even against a system that was difficult. And um,
What was their focus? I haven't heard too much about that. What was
SEMA,
their
I think, was mostly getting people transitioned into housing that was appropriate, and finding ways of getting people off of the street, basically, and attacking it like at a street level in a humane way. And it was kind of a coalition to help unhoused people on the east side.
yeah.
And I would, I contributed to them as well, and like what they did. And so I think she brought that energy. And I really like to people who look at, you know, the holistic nature of, first of all, I'll talk about what I think has been her growing pragmatism, for sure, as she's been
Yeah,
in
please.
her seat. But I think what she brought coming in and has worked toward as well is the idea of, like, trying to find, um, looking at issues holistically, meaning, on the housing shortage, and the shortage of affordable housing also affects our traffic. because people are
Hmm.
driving in from farther away, which also affects our air quality. So you get the kind of thing of like, oh, this kind of bigger thinking about urban problems and things that we need to fix comes from a really smart place, and I think is some of the best kind of thinking that can be proven to be effective when given a chance to be implemented. Now, I also think that she, as a council person, has had to deal with the realities of city hall decision making and budget allocations and things that I think she has differed with Mayor Bass on. That has tempered some of her idealism, perhaps, with a level of like, how do we actually come up with solutions to things? And I think that's actually a good journey. And I see that, in people nationally doing that. And I see that, even in New York City with this mayor, who I think some people are skeptical of. I think where the rubber is meeting the road, he's doing some things where it's like, oh, okay, that's actually a practical solution involving compromise in politics and deal making and hands-on tactile. What do we actually do here to fix this? So it's not ideological as much as like how do we address problems? And I like that.
Well, that's the thing with the councilwoman that the status quo and the kind of it's this huge mass of complacency that has guided LA city politics for 40 years now. And I it just you there's a great tradition of promising young people going into the city council and never being heard from again, and just being buried by the the weight of the sort of status quo and the complacency. And whatever I feel like that whatever ideas you bring in, whatever ideology you bring in, if you're actually going to move anything like even a tenth of an inch, you've kind of got to have some like real hard-headed practicality because uh nothing otherwise just the drift of the status quo, which is basically let the between the developers and the public employees union just let things go float will crush you. So what
Right, and I think it's a delicate balance always with people like that of like, how do you maintain the idealism and the big ideas that excited people, and how does that interact with the reality? And are you willing to change a little bit and compromise, but also find a way to get to your solutions, and also look at, it's a citywide office, it's not a council-wide office, and how do you realize that there are going to be constituents that you want to represent who are going to be a little bit different and at odds with kind of. And I think that I think some degree of flexibility, that's often used as a thing to attack politicians. Well, she's changed her position on this. Well, maybe it's because there's realities of like everybody who lives in this city, and it's a big city with a lot of different diverse interests. And how do you be a mayor for everybody, especially in a city like Los Angeles, which does not have a dominant mayor, system. I don't understand all of that, but I know, the power of the council and the power of the county supervisors and the limitations of the LA mayorship compared to New York City's mayor, for example.
Yeah, so every conversation about the mayor's race sort of starts with, well, the mayor doesn't actually do anything here, and that just gives license to, okay, so we might as well just go with what we have, or you know nominate this person because of God knows what, but not really thinking of like the mayor as a person who is going to change anything or even do anything. That that famous that famous video that of Karen Bass when she came back to L.A. after being away on a trip during the fire, and a reporter confronted her and just asked some basic questions about why were you away, and she just froze. And I felt like that was the face of the political establishment, just like, why are you asking us about this? That's not We're not in charge of disasters and things. We're here to just show up and collect our check, and and it was just such a so what can you tell me about her perspective
I
about,
I will say I don't come as a supporter of Nithya from a place of really having huge like I like Mayor Bass, and I think she will be, if Nithya somehow doesn't make this runoff, I will cast my vote for Karen Bass. I think that there was some unfairness to the way she was maligned about like the idea that she was in Africa, probably doing New York City, excuse me, Los Angeles city business in an international city like Los Angeles that is part of the world. I don't necessarily think that was um, the thing to attack her for. And that being said, I do think Nithya presents a level of thinking, innovation, and energy and tirelessness that I do think is and it would be an improvement from Mayor Bass. So I do come at it from that perspective, and I do think to some extent what you're saying of stasis and status quo, and we can't really change that. Well, why not? And how do we try to change that? And so I'll get specific on something that Nithya has really been talking about a lot lately is the state of the entertainment industry, which is so vital to Los Angeles,
yeah.
and I'm a that, and like the fact that there really hasn't been anything actively done. Um, Karen Bass saying waiting for the industry to be ready to have a film liaison. Like, why are we not doing our part as a city, speaking up, getting up to Sacramento, working the state reps up there to get the tax credits, doing whatever it can to ease permitting, making it so like it's insane to me that I have a friend who's making a show not set in Ireland, running a half-hour television show and has to shoot it in Ireland because it's
That,
cheaper to do it in Ireland. Game shows being shot
yeah.
in Ireland or in Atlanta with they're flying in American contestants to Ireland to
Game
do
shows.
game shows.
Uh,
Now you could say that's because we have onerous unions and the industry is in transition. But I am a union member as a WGA and DGA member and actually SAG too. I don't think that's the issue because we were able to do it for a long time. So I think, is there a holistic thinking that needs to happen with the where the mayor is in conversation with these big companies and saying, do you want to change the character of the city to the point where people can't work here anymore and can't live here and grips and electric can no longer have middle class lives? I don't think that anybody wants that, and it's a big constituency, and that's all of Los Angeles. That's not just you know writers and directors and actors. That's who are above the line and making a lot of money, even though that's changed. It's everybody. It's the people who live in all over the city and work all over the city and want to have call it home and be able to build a career here. And that was possible for decades and decades and decades. And so a level of energy and activity and passion and commitment to using whatever power the mayor has to get that conversation going and figure out how to get the industry to stay here and shoot here and make stuff here is hugely important. And I think there
yeah.
has been enough from the mayor before. You know,
I wrote a piece last week comparing their plans for Hollywood, and was very impressed that Councilman Walton Roman's peace plans were by far the most sort of specific and detailed. And actually, it was, I mean, it was the first time I've seen something from a politician where I just felt like, oh, she actually understands what the problem, what the issues are here. And she talking about the neighborhood and the neighborhood restrictions, and just there's this whole culture of when a production sets up for business, everyone from the neighbors to God knows who is just sees this as an open wallet to come and grab your piece of it. And the city has not been proactive in saying like, this is our industry, like,
yeah,
you know, f off and let them do their work here. But her plan was really informed and knowledgeable, and to have someone uh as I say, so much of of this race for me just comes down to energy. Just
mhm,
like you can put up whatever positions you want, but just like feeling that you're going to be like that once you get elected and that you're going to be like energetic supporting
I
that,
think
and you just feel that.
I think that's a big part of it, and I think, I'm closer in Karen Bass's age than I am to Nithya. I hate to admit, but I do think that there's a lot to be said for some youthful energy, more youthful energy and
Yeah,
dynamism and creative problem solving, and again, using when practicable, to use a fancy word, the kind of how do we attack an issue a few different ways, meaning how does one solution create the solution to another problem as well, because so much of it is interconnected. And again, I look at like housing and traffic and environment as one of those places where three things kind of interface,
yeah,
and real problem solving can all of a sudden ameliorate problem other areas if you're attacking this one area with an eye toward the holistic of it all. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah, absolutely, and just making this a priority and not
Yes.
and not and saying like, but it really keeping production in LA really matters. It matters like it.
I mean,
I mean,
anecdotally, the number of people I've had, like, I haven't had a show in production for a few years now. I've been kind of in endless development and writing, and that's fine. But I feel it, in terms of how hard it is to get something made. And I feel it in terms of people who 5 years ago were saying, yeah, I did that kind of a show. I had somebody who worked in, really talented art person, like on a show, say like, yeah, I did this show on the network. I don't want to do a network show, so I'm looking to do something else. And I have kind of a limited list of people I really want to work with. And now I talk to this person, and she's like, I'll do anything. You know what I mean? Like,
wow,
your choices are curtailed, and part of it is we're creative people, so we're in this business to do this thing that we love. And when it's really just like, I can't be particular and choosy, I have to do anything. And that's okay. Like, survival is paramount. Sorry to bring up Paramount.
we can't get far from it.
They don't get a plug in my piece
Yeah,
about.
that's
But survival is important, but you also would like to have the opportunity to go like, that's somebody I really want to work with because we're going to make something great. And instead, that person can't get anything launched because everything is shrunken, and production is going to be done in Ireland or New Mexico, and I have a family and I can't move there.
yeah.
So I'm not working at all, or I'm going to work on something that I'm not passionate about. And people can say like, "Well, too bad you're working." Sure, but sometimes there aren't even those jobs now.
Yeah, and I mean, another thing, the just 3 hours away from Los Angeles is this place called, Nevada, which is a different state entirely, and has a different county, and their permitting process is they have no permits, and you pull over, you set up a camera, and from what I've heard from, location people, if police come by, they say, "Oh, you're sure? What do you need? Can we help you?" Is there anything we can do? Which is, you know, 3 hours away. It is night and day between what you have here. And I just think a change of attitude and a change of focus coming from the top and like, sort of looking at it like this is our business. If you were running a store and someone was shaking down your customers as they came in and out of the store, you wouldn't appoint a liaison to deal with the shakedown people. You would go outside and say, "Knock it off. It's my business."
That's right. And look, I'm not exactly sure a Wild West solution. Not to take anything away from the
Yeah,
you're describing. I'm not sure that's what is appropriate for Los Angeles either. There are people with stakeholders who want to be able to park on their street, or not have massive trucks or whatever it is. But leadership from the top to say like, how do we have a conversation about how to make Los Angeles more production friendly, economically, permitting wise, in all these respects, like having energy and vision and willing to be engaged in a knowledgeable way, a willingness to be engaged in a knowledgeable way, that's what we need. Even if it's still going to be, a little harder, but you know what? It's worth it because you're going to get the best craftspeople. You're going to get the best actors you're going to get the best writers and directors. You're going to get the most spectacular weather and incredible sights and locations and ocean and mountains and all the other incredible things that Los Angeles offers. And the best people to make your shows. So how do we make it, how do we engage in this conversation to make it so that the best people get to do their thing?
So just looking at a potential runoff, for whoever, assuming Mayor Bass has one of the slots in it, whoever uh, faces off against her is, whether it be Spencer Pratt or Councilwoman Rahman. Um, it's kind of going to be a battle of how do you go beyond your base, because neither of their bases is going to get them anywhere close to winning. So what do you see for her as, how does she expand the because what detractors would say is she's an ideologue, she's a leftist, and if that's what she is and that's all she is, she'll end up with 20%.
Yeah.
So how does she go beyond that?
That's a great question. And I think, first of all, I will say don't bet against Nithya ever. She was redistricted, energetically. Sort
Mm.
I think there was a movement to kind of get her off of the council, and she
Mm.
was to win that seat back or get reelected, and I believe with no runoff, if my history is correct. And so
I
she's
mean, just winning in the first place. I think there's only been three council people defeated for reelection in something like 40 years.
yeah,
It's an incredible
first
number.
survived the sort of rigging of her district to get her off the council was really impressive. So she's tough. I think she's somebody I would say she just needs to get out there and meet as many people outside of the sort of, comfort zone. And I think she's already doing that. She's great when you meet her. I had people over to meet her at our house in March, and some of them were, people from Sherman Oaks who didn't know that much about her. And they left like, she's really smart. She really gets again, that holistic, like, how do we solve a few problems at once with solutions that can kind of go right to the heart of things. And all of a sudden you're seeing things happen. And then the pragmatism that I think she has shown as she's been on the council and is articulating now, like she is not an ideologue anymore. I think I think all like a lot of people, she came in with maybe some of that to appeal to an electorate, and now she's been sobered or educated a little bit, I think, and people are allowed to evolve. And I think that she's really
Yeah.
good at doing that. And I think she's the best positioned by far, of course, to evolve and reach across that divide and say to people like, look, you think things could be done better. This city needs to work better. And here are some things, listen to me. And I think she's very well positioned and kind of um, composed of the kind of grit and ability to communicate that will serve her well. I'm optimistic.
Do you have any special pet project that you've been pushing when you meet with her? Do you have any
Well,
you
I
know
like the things that she's done. I love that she really helped get the bike lanes, and I'm not an avid cyclist, but I like to ride my bike. Some people complain about those on Hollywood Boulevard. I think they're fantastic, and I think that it's
no.
just maintaining them and expanding them and getting people comfortable with them. I think the bus shelters that she's been responsible for happening, like paying attention to the people who travel in other ways besides in their cars, is part of making this a livable city, and with some population density and making it a feasible city to go forward for decades from now. Pet things, I don't know. I guess I would just want to stay committed to and engaged in that conversation about our business, and make sure that
Yeah.
she what she's learned and what she's already knows from being married to somebody who's in the business, to how do go beyond that and really get problem solved in that regard.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, that just shows that she actually understands the business in a way that's not just superficial. That
Right.
she has a and that if you don't understand it, you're not likely to solve a whole lot of problems.
Yeah.
All right, Jonathan, you give me you make me optimistic that
Oh,
that
both people. And if you're looking for an alternative to the way things are, I think you should try Nithya and not the nuclear option, which I don't think is a good plan. And I think by that without getting personal.
Yeah.
Don't vote for
I
Spencer.
mean, I'll just say he's not going to. I talk about you've got to go beyond your base to win here, and I don't see him making much attempt to do that. So he is not going to be mayor of Los Angeles. So
He's up to something else, I think.
yeah, I'm sure he has all kinds of other great careers ahead of him. Thank you so much for joining us. This was a great conversation. Everybody, get out and vote. You got 8 hours left, so 8.5 hours left. So see ya. Take care. Thanks for coming.